It's a beautiful sunny day here in Bristol, and we are going to take our lovely SL55 AMG up to the Brooklands Historic Auction in Farnborough and have a look at an AMG GTS plus some lovely classic Mercedes which are coming up for auction this weekend. What we've come to look at here is this beautiful 2016 or 2015 AMG GTS. Now this has been wrapped, and one of the reasons that we've driven all the way here to the historic Brooklands to look at this car is because this car did not sell in the November auction. It had a guide price from memory of 39 to 46,000. Now you'll notice from the catalogue that guide has actually been reduced, and one of the things that affects the price of these cars substantially is the mileage, and this is quite a high mileage car. From memory it's about 57,000. The GTS, the GT stands for Grand Tour and the S is the Sport. And the Sport came with a few optional extras. It's difficult at an auction to get a proper viewing, but some of the expensive things on these cars are the tyres. The inner edges of these tyres wear out. The front brake discs, you can feel that this has quite a lip on it, and these are not cheap to replace. I think the front calipers are 6-piston calipers, but strangely enough on the back of this car, I believe you just have a 1-piston caliper, so there's about a ½ to a millimetre lip on these brake discs, and these cars do go through brakes and tyres. You can see quite a few dings in the paint. What I like about these cars, more so than some of the others, is the actual the screen on here. When they did the facelift, the screen became much bigger, and here you have these lovely 8 buttons, the V8. It's just a beautiful, really clean layout on this car. You had various options like the Alcantara steering wheel. This one doesn't have that, but that does tend to wear out. And then of course you had the pano roof. Without that, it can feel like you're sitting in a little bit like a box in these cars. Actually, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Dominic here from
Hello.
Historic. Dominic, why is this car so much cheaper than other AMG GTs? Because the estimate on this is somewhere between 36 and 40.
It's realistically priced, Mike. You're absolutely right. Chap who owns this is selling up and leaving the country. He's moving to Asia. He sold his flat, he sold his rental property, he sold his day-to-day car. Now he's going to sell. This is the last thing he's going to sell. And he's moving away.
Okay, so do you know how long he's had this car?
So for quite a while.
So it's got quite a few miles on it, and you can see that it's actually been driven, which, strangely enough, these cars do benefit from. Now, this one has had a recall for the pop shaft. That was done in October 21, together with all the latest software updates, which is something you've got to watch. But this one was listed in your November auction, but didn't sell, which really
got really close. And probably the car that I had the highest level of interest in for a car that I didn't sell. I was really surprised, which is why when he said he's changed the circumstances, he's going to move it, was I happy to put it into another auction? Yeah, absolutely. So I'm convinced that we'll sell it this time. There was so much interest in this car after the auction. People who wish that they'd been and seen it, and the opportunity's here. We're down at Farnborough for the next 2 days. It's open, available for people to come and look in as much detail as they want.
I think it's important, if you're going to be spending that kind of money on a car, you've got to look at it, because some of the the little things, the little dings, etc., like that, you're not going to see in the pictures. Not that they particularly matter, but you also have to look at the engine. You have to make sure there's no oil leaks underneath this car. But I kind of agree with Dominic on this, that there'll be a lot of interest in this car. I might even bid on it myself, because, as I mentioned, this car didn't sell for much more than the CoPart Auction car sold for. The CoPart Auction car sold for 32,500, which another 2,500 expenses on top of that, so 35,000. You'd have had all the repairs to do, plus it would have been a Category S car. I think is the service history on these cars. Has this got any service history?
Yeah, it's really good. All been done at main dealer as well.
So important.
So possibly due one about now, more on time than mileage, but you can't turn the clock back, and do it from retrospectively, but this has got it all there. Really good foundation for a good thing.
One of the things that people often get wrong about these high performance cars, take the GTR, at 40,000 miles, this needs a gearbox service every year, every 2 years. You're looking to change your oil. If that hasn't been done, you can seriously degrade not just the value of the car, but the performance of the car as well. As I mentioned, the brakes are probably coming up. Brake discs on this car, it's something you have to factor in if you buy this car, but this does come with some service service history, which is, you drove this car down. Any warning lights on the dash? Anything?
No, nothing lit up. It was just a really exciting drive back, actually.
They are
Really exhilarating.
So exhilarating, and the sound is just amazing.
Phenomenal. It really turns head.
I could be completely wrong, but I think these cars, the GTS had a lithium battery. As I say, I could be completely wrong. I might be thinking of the GTC. But
Dominic, if you'd agree, this one will sell.
I really hope so.
I think so too.
I really
Dominic,
hope so.
Thanks very much for your help.
You're welcome. Anytime.
The test of any car is whether or not the wife likes it. And can you see yourself dropping the kids off to school?
oh my God, this is amazing.
It's a £50,000 car. This is a £150,000 car. The GTR, not just the GTR, the Pro car. The thing about this car is it's actually got an MOT. If you won this in the auction, you could drive off down the road straight onto one of the tracks and probably set some new records. I think this was one of the fastest cars around the Nürburgring. As I say, very rare. I think they only made about 750 of these worldwide, and only about 80 of them came to the UK. So this will definitely generate some interest. It's not a car that comes up for sale very often. So if you're into an exotic daily driver and a few track days, maybe this is the car for you. What do you think?
I prefer that one.
There's only one R107 in this auction. It's the 420 SL, and that replaced the 450 SL. The 300 SL went on to replace the 280 SL. It's actually quite a rare car in the grand scheme of things. Not that many were made. One of the great things about the R107s is you can get some child seats in the back, and this car has that option, which is actually quite an expensive option when they came out. So if you do have young children, this is one of the classics that you can still use. There are two Pagodas at this auction. This one here in blue is the same colour as our Pagoda. It's got the cream interior, which I'm not so keen on. But it still looks pretty lovely. Now this is a 230 SL right-hand drive. So this car has actually got a 280 badge on it and a 280 engine, but it is a 230 SL. Once again, I'm not so keen on the white Euro tyres, not original to this car. We've obviously spent quite a lot of money restoring this engine, doing all the pipes and polishing the block. First time you drive around the block, that'll be nice and dirty, but that does look lovely. Well, it's very interesting. One of the cars we're here to film is this beautiful 280 SL. Now this is a US import. It's not the colours I would have chosen, but it's got an original stereo in there, which is nice, and not original seat belts or anything like that. And it's also got the US bumpers. One of the things that nearly always happens is that these roofs rust out. It's definitely one of the things to look for. This is actually in excellent shape on this. There's a couple of 190 SLs for sale in the auction, one of which will probably sell at a reasonable price, which is this one here in the, I don't know, 50 to 60,000 range, and the other one that's had a nut and bolt restoration that they're looking for over £100,000. This is such a pretty little car. I've often fancied one of these, but we'll probably save up for the 300 SL Roadster. But these are such a beautiful, usable classic, and this one in lovely condition. One of the piece de resistances of this auction is this beautiful 190 SL. Now this has had a nut and bolt restoration. It's got a beautiful red interior, and I love the colour of this car. I love also the fact that it's got a drip tray underneath it. If you have got kids, this one's actually got the little cushions in there. I've never seen that before. In fact, I've never seen the seats like that either. That's one of the reasons these are so costly. They haven't been restored is because, of course, that's just a moisture trap. Moisture and dust will sit there and eventually rust these sills out. As mentioned, this one has been fully restored. I somehow doubt it will meet its reserve because, unfortunately, the older generation who might aspire to have one of these cars are sadly dying out. Many of them have already got the car of their dreams, and the younger classic car buyers are not so much drawn to these 1950s cars. There's a couple of R230s here, a couple of 350 SLs, probably the least desirable in this particular model, but this one's got the red interior, which actually makes this car slightly more valuable than others. Also has the push button start or keyless go. One of the things to look out for if you're ever considering buying one of these cars, they almost all will rust out on the wheel arches here. We've just had ours restored. It's not a big deal, but it's definitely worth bearing in mind. 50s, most of them had coil springs as opposed to the ABC suspension, but it is worth checking because the ABC was an option on the 350 SL, so if you are thinking of buying one of these, that's definitely worth popping the bonnet and checking. This car is no reserve, and some of these have sold for between £2,000 and £5,000, so this one may yet sell at a bargain price. Also no reserve is this 500 SL here. It's obviously the slightly bigger engine, and this will have the ABC suspension. And what's really important if you're thinking of buying one of these cars is to look at the service history, to check the colour of the ABC fluid. When was the last time it was changed? Things like the ABC pump, has it been changed? A very common problem on these cars is the little flaps get broken off. You can actually buy replacements on eBay. It's not a big job to do that, but one of the things to look out for. And once again, check out the wheel arches. These are just starting to rust. Just seeing a little bit of rust there. It's not a big job to fix, but it'll cost you something like £500 in addition to what you're going to pay. So once again, no reserve for this 500 SL. These once again can sell for anywhere between £2,000 and £5,000, and depending on the mileage, this one's probably not a premium car looking at it. So here's another 500 SL. Now this one does have a reserve or an estimate on it. I think it's estimated 8 to 12,000, which is it's not a lot of money for these cars. It is quite a lot of money for one of these cars, bearing in mind what they often sell for. And this is a relatively low mileage car. I don't know if it's had paint work before. The bonnet's a different colour. It's difficult to tell in this light. It's got the slightly uprated stereo system. A nice interior and a windbreak, but ideally what you really want to do is get a scanner on one of these cars, test drive them, and start look at the colour of some of the fluids like the ABC fluid, because if you buy one of these blind without lifting the carpets up to see if there's any damp in there, or running a scanner to see if there's any codes, you could be letting yourself in for some hefty bills. Now this is an interesting car, probably for all the wrong reasons. It's up at no reserve, and somebody has spent an enormous amount of money pimping this car up and putting the body kit on with AMG wheels, AMG body kit, bumper. That would have cost an absolute fortune. But one of the things that jumps out about this car is the mileage anomaly. And if you are going to buy a car at an auction unseen, you need to do some background checks first. This is badged as an AMG, but it's not an AMG car. It's got lovely exhaust, etc. on it, but the mileage anomaly on this car shows that although it's listed, I don't know, as a 60, 70,000 mile car, then in actual fact it should probably be over 100,000 miles, and that may sway your whether or not you buy the car. Just bear in mind that if you do intend to place a bid, there's a 12% buyer's premium plus VAT. So for example, if you were to bid £40,000 on this AMG GTR, it would actually cost you £45,750.